I hope you're well. Firstly, just want to say thank you and again, congratulations. Like a really good effort when I log in and I see that the afternoon of or just the morning after the due date for that outcome task, even within the restricted confines of remote learning, the majority of students have handed that in. As usual, I'm going to be that little bit extra leniency in terms of when I start sending out redemption notices. So that probably won't be until maybe tomorrow afternoon, maybe even Monday, because I just want to give you that extra time to make sure if it is due in, yesterday afternoon, but it takes you that extra day or so, I'm absolutely fine with that because I appreciate that you're doing your best and these are really hard times right now. I'd like to show you again what I do at the start of most of our online delivery lessons, which is where are we up to in this sequence of our learning, and then what's coming today and what's coming next. It really helps build that big picture. So I'm just going to begin by showing you, not that one, that's the lesson plans, apologies, just the sequence of learning. So right now, as you can see, we're actually over halfway through our teaching and learning in this topic area. And the great news is that 2 out of the 3 outcome tasks have already been completed. And I'm really looking forward to listening to and watching your presentations you made for me. So today I introduce this new topic of human development, the development of humans essentially. And it's actually going to run across the next 4 weeks, including the SAC in the final week of this term. So we've got one outcome task, which is a lifespan development task that's going to happen in the second last week of term. And then we're going to have some time to study and revise ready for the SAC in that final week. So I think the end is nearly in sight, which is really exciting for us. I'll just show you, obviously, over in resources, term 3, week 5, you'll find the lifespan activity, which is something that needs to be completed today. And if you want to look at the PowerPoint at your own pace, not just in this video, there it is embedded in there. But what I would think is probably very, very beneficial right now is for us to just have a little bit of a slideshow presentation. So feel free to take your notes from where they were last time with a brand new heading of human development, and we move forward now. Now, in this human development, we're actually talking about one big item today, which is about the lifespan of humans. And I might just even start by saying the lifespan of humans starts before we can even see that human. When it is inside its mother's womb and it is growing, that is when the lifespan begins. And everyone's lifespan will span a different period of time. We know what the expected lifespan is, which is life expectancy, and most people will make it to their expected lifespan, if not extend past their expected lifespan. But some people's lifespan might finish earlier rather than at their regular expected date. So, what are the stages? Right here, you can see that there are 5 stages. There is a prenatal stage, there is infancy, there is childhood, youth, and adulthood. You would have heard me using this youth term a fair bit in the last topic, which is talking about you guys. It's in that booming period from puberty through to the beginning of adulthood at 18 years old. Though there is a set of concerns, issues, and focuses around this youth group that we've discussed recently, because a lot of development happens during this youth area. And you'll find out today that that is because of the growth of the brain and the intellectual growth of the human being able to absorb so much information during this time span. But let's go right back to the start. Prenatal, this is when the sperm penetrates an egg. So this is when, inside a female, the growth of a baby begins. When a male and female have gotten together and that successful process of the sperm and the egg meeting has begun, that is when the lifespan of prenatal stage begins. And generally speaking, 9 months worth of prenatal stage for the majority of women. After that, a baby is born, and for the first 2 years of their life, infancy is occurring. Infancy is about developing the ability to walk and talk and understand at a very basic sense. Then we move into childhood, and we can see that there's a sub breakdown in childhood between 2 to 6 years and 6 to 12 years. And what you'll probably notice here is that those are time stamped pretty much with schooling. So between 2 to 6 years is going through prep and pre kinder and prep, and then going from 6 to 12 is roughly your primary school age. Youth then takes you through that high school age, and then adulthood has an early, middle, and late adulthood. And generally speaking, this is based around essentially work years. So the majority of people between 18 to 40 years old will hold steady regular job. Between 40 to 65 years old, you'll notice people are late change in career or career pathway change, and also maybe an early retirement for some people who have been successful with their income and finances. But the beginning of things like grandchildren potentially at the later end of this one, and then definitely into what we would consider retirement through to the end of life is that late adulthood. So you can see why those areas have been time-stamped the way that they are. So development refers to multiple aspects. It's not just the physical growth of that human being. We also need to take into consideration what the social growth and development is, what the emotional and the intellectual developments are. And these areas are interrelated. What we mean by interrelated means they're all influenced by one another. So an individual's ability to be able to socialize can actually help affect their emotional development. And if somebody is a good listener in a social development setting, then they can learn from their grandparents, their parents, or their friends and actually help develop their intellectual abilities. And so we can see how one aspect of development can actually affect another. And some people will grow in different areas at different paces. Don't forget that you need to be taking some notes on this stuff because it's going to be on your SAC at the end of the term. So it's really important here to understand that while some people might appear that their physical development might have gone at a slower pace, their social development or their emotional or intellectual development might actually be far superior to what their physical development looks like. So it could appear interesting to see someone who looks younger and smaller acting so much mature and older for their age. This answers a few questions that might be in your head. So, in terms of physical development, we're talking about the changes to the body itself and the systems inside that body. If you choose health or physical education moving forward into year 11 and 12, you'll start to learn about the different systems in the body, whether it be the cardiovascular system or the respiratory system, the muscular system, the skeletal system. Each of these systems, and the nervous system in particular, will grow. And as they grow, they become more and more complex. The human body at a young age, each of its systems work in quite a basic manner, but then later on, more intricate details are able to be developed. I want you to think about this. Very young children, like you might have seen on Zoom or my videos, my young 2-year-old daughter, they're more in control of starting to walk, run, and jump. Those are those big muscle movements. If I was to give my daughter a pen or a pencil and try and draw something at that age, it's likely that she would grab it with a fist and try and just make scribbles. It's because she doesn't have the ability at the moment to manipulate the smaller muscles in her body, which is this fine motor skills. That development happens at a later age. If I was to get my older daughter at 5 years old, and she is able to grasp the pen using smaller muscles, she can have more control over it, and her brain has intellectually developed enough to know that these scribbles on paper are numbers and letters, and they start making sense into words and meaning. And that is also how these things interrelate. Social development talks about the complexity and behavior in relationships with other people. When we think about relationships, we're not just talking about a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, which might be forefront in some of our minds because of the age category that we're in. However, we're talking about relationships with friends, with family, we're talking about relationships with brothers and sisters, we're talking about relationships with teachers and with your school or with your basketball team or whatever sport you might play. These are all different relationships, and each of those relationships have different impacts on each other. The ways in which you behave around different people in order to be considered considerate of others can change. You're allowed to say things around your friends that you wouldn't say around your parents. But at a younger age, when you're first developing relationships and social development, those intricacies are something that hasn't been developed yet. So we can see that through the later years in life by developing things like your own grandchildren, children, work colleagues, bosses, etc. You learn how to develop different social skills to manipulate different situations in a positive light. Then we have emotional development. And you'll notice that young children will just scream and cry for no reason. Well, we think it's no reason, but it's because they don't have a total understanding of their emotions at this point in their life. So we have to also understand that as we grow and we start experiencing the same emotion multiple times, we start to get a better understanding as to what that emotion means. What is sadness and why do we feel sadness when we feel it? What is happiness and why do we feel happiness when we feel it? It helps with our understanding of resilience and self-concept when we do have a good emotional development and a good emotional health by being able to experience all the different emotions and experience them at the right time in the right proportions. That is something that helps us understand the growth of our emotional mindset. Finally, intellectual development. It is impossible to think that a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old is able to comprehend the same concepts that you are able to comprehend at your age or I am able to comprehend at my age. The reason why school becomes harder every single year level is because the brain has developed its ability to make complex processes, have a larger storage of memory and knowledge, and be able to piece together the understanding of a higher level of intellect. The creativity and the mind develops throughout its years because of trial and error. The attention span develops throughout its years. The use and understanding of language to make meaning. In the English language, the same word can mean 4 or 5 different meanings. And it's only when you become older that you understand those intricate meanings of each word. And some people will develop this faster than others. What I'd like to do is to flip over now to what the task is for today. I'm not going to open up a learning task for today's activity because it shouldn't have to be due during class time because it could happen over the next few days. And if you would like some feedback on this task, feel free to email it to me. There's 2 different parts to this activity. The first one is about you and the second one is about someone else. So I'd like you to draw a continuum. For you guys, the continuum would be from either prenatal or birth all the way through to your current age. And what you'll need to do is mark on there at least 15 different examples of changes that you have gone through in your development, whether it be physical, intellectual, social, or emotional. And so if you can find a significant moment, and you don't need to divulge any deep information here, but if you can think of a significant moment where you understood happiness or sadness, if you can understand a moment in your life where you might have developed physical attributes, being able to shoot a basketball more efficiently, being able to lift a specific weight. If that shows growth in that area, timestamp it to what age you believe that it happened. So you're starting to get a picture of when the changes occurred for you. What I'd then like you to do is, as a beginning expert in this continuum activity, we want you to go to a parent, grandparent, or guardian, maybe even a brother or sister who's older if you have access to that. And I want you to ask them to think about, starting from birth and their lifetime, what they might be able to timestamp. And you could actually explain to them what we mean by physical development, intellectual, social, and emotional development through the understandings of this video. You should be able to provide at least 15 examples for yourself. And because of the lifespan being bigger for an older parent, guardian, or brother or sister, you should be able to provide up to nearly 20 examples for them. Feel free to take your time with this activity, and as I said, email it to me to get some feedback. Good luck.